Good Hope Hospital, Sutton Coldfield. This is the place where the first seeds of CPR Counts were sown, although at the time no one knew this. I'm on my way to the Clinical Skills Centre to meet someone without whom this whole adventure may never have got off the ground, or continued to be so successful. Well, I'm here in the Clinical Skills Centre at Good Hope Hospital with Mike Bennett. Mike, tell us what your role is.
Hi, Malcolm. My day job is that I'm a resuscitation officer working for Birmingham Community Healthcare NHS Foundation Trust.
Bit of a mouthful.
Quite long-winded.
Yeah.
But in that context, I deliver resuscitation training to our clinical staff as part of the mandatory training requirements for the trust.
The reason we're in here is, and you may remember this, it's that in August 2017, I was 5 days after having my chest cut open in a bypass operation. This was 3 months after my cardiac arrest. And I walked in through this door, having been told not to enter because I might pick up something nasty. Picked up you in the end, didn't I? But the room was pretty nearly full. I'd managed to find 35 people to make this course that you were running here viable. But as I came in, you were being introduced by the local representative.
That's right. Yeah, Harry Dranginis.
Yeah. I walked in as he was introducing you, straight from QE Hospital in Birmingham. And all the people who knew me saw me coming in and started clapping. And I don't think Harry here had any idea what was going on.
Certainly he didn't, and certainly I didn't. It was the first time an introduction, really, to your good self was all the commotion that was actually occurring.
Well, that time we neither knew each other. We hadn't got a clue who each other was. And we never would have had this link, except that in the audience out there was our Tai Chi teacher, Steve. And he recognised you without knowing you were going to be the teacher. And then he saw me walk in, and he knew that I'd been trying to find a way of kind of doing something to put back what had saved my life, and so other people could learn the skills. So he put us together, and then you could say the rest is history.
Hi, I'm Steve Jones. I'm a full-time Tai Chi teacher and the founder of Central Tai Chi, based in Sutton Coldfield. My connection to CPR Counts started in 2017 when I attended a basic life support course at the Good Hope Hospital, sponsored by the British Heart Foundation. Almost all of those attending, including myself, had been recruited by Malcolm Robinson, one of my students. I knew that Malcolm, following his cardiac arrest, was very much trying to find a way of playing some sort of role in encouraging more people to learn how to save lives, as his had been. Other than cajoling his friends to be there, he really didn't know where to turn next. As the course was being introduced, however, I became aware that the teacher was also one of my students, Mike Bennett. Mike and Malcolm had never met since they attended different Tai Chi classes of mine. Nor did I know what Mike's occupation was. I now know, of course, that he's the lead resuscitation officer for Birmingham Community Healthcare NHS Foundation Trust. Well, I thought to myself, I must put these two guys together. They did meet, and the rest, as they say, is history. I'm very proud to have played my part in the formation of CPR Counts.
Yeah, I mean, my recollections of that day, of our first introduction, as you said, Steve, Tai Chi instructor, had mentioned that he was going to attend some first aid training. that had been organised. And I think it was unbeknownst to himself that I was actually the one leading this teaching session that we call Heart Start, which was a British Heart Foundation funded course to teach members of the public awareness around how to do CPR and other emergency interventions like choking and signs and symptoms of heart attacks. And I deliver these courses certainly 5 years ago as part of the educational talks for what was the Good Hope cardiac rehabilitation classes. And Harry Dranginis, along with some of his colleagues, facilitated those talks. And it was on that particular night or evening that I was here. Harry was just introducing myself to the audience. And I'd already seen sort of Steve, and I think Steve had actually seen me, and we sort of realised, you know, that we know each other. But before we got any further, and before we even actually started the actual course itself, there was some commotion going on, and I wasn't aware of what exactly was happening. But one of Harry's colleagues, Kathy O'Reilly, I think her name was, a lovely lady, had just come down the steps and in the room, and she'd approached me and said, "Mike, yeah, this gentleman, Malcolm's arrived, turning up, wanting to sort of participate or actually attend this training session." And you could just see by the look on her face, she was not happy with your arrival.
Oh, I know. I came into the building through the door behind me, and she was sort of hanging onto my tail saying, don't go in, you might pick up some infection. And I said, this course wouldn't be here if it hadn't been for me getting nearly everyone who was present. And I said, I have to go in just to have a look at least. But I managed to stay in for about 5 minutes before they didn't literally drag me out, but they were at the door.
Yeah, I think, like I say, they were just not overly, but they were concerned about the fact that you'd only just been fairly recently discharged from.
Well, actually, 3 days later, I was back in hospital here with a chest infection. So maybe,
which I hope that was totally unrelated to actually attending these. But that was the first introduction. And like I say, you know, it was a case of I wasn't aware of your circumstance. I was only aware of Steve saying that, you know, something had been organised and he was attending this training session. And like I say, it's only after the event that we sort of started to make the connection real.
I remember you said to me, if I organise them, you'll run them. That was the words you said.
I think the case was, from my perspective, whilst I deliver the training in my trust, which is mandated and staff having to attend, the approach that we've adopted over the last few years is by inviting members of the public to attend training sessions that you've facilitated and that I deliver on behalf. They're there because they want to be there. We often talk about survival rates and delay in intervention. And one of those examples is for defibrillation. For every minute that passes by, the suggestion is the chances of success diminish by about 10% per minute. It doesn't take a genius to work out that if you're heavily relying on just an ambulance to turn up with their equipment, then that might be a delay that's a bit too long for that patient. Having access to a defibrillator means you can do more before the ambulance arrives. And people worry about these things. Yeah. One, they're very, very unlikely to have to use one, but they're worried about what was if I give a shock by mistake. And the commonest answer is you can't. Any one of those cabinets that you see on high streets can be used by a member of the public, with or without any training. They're called public access defibrillators. When the shock is delivered, it goes from one pad to the other pad through the heart. And we hope that there's enough energy that passes through the heart to do the job that we want it to do. And as we all know, the majority of the situations that we describe, cardiac arrest, it's not in front of the healthcare professionals that people are having their cardiac arrest. It's in front of members of the public and often in front of family members.
Yeah. About 80% of the out-of-hospital cardiac arrests occur with the person you know.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a case of that, well over that sort of 80% we understand, and again, different areas around the country will have their own figures, but over 80% in the West Midlands, it is a cardiac arrest, usually as a medical situation or underlying cause. Often we talk about the heart attacks being the main reason why cardiac arrest occurs, but it's in a place of residence. So there is a high probability that it is an individual that is known to the person who's having to attempt the resuscitation.
Hello, I'm Barbara.
And I'm Dawn.
And we do Tai Chi. In 2017, our instructor Steve at our Tai Chi class mentioned that one of his students had had a cardiac arrest in the street in Birmingham. And therefore there was a course arranged at Good Hope Hospital for basic life-saving skills.
This was back in the August of 2017, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then we attended the course, and our instructor Steve also came along, as he'd got a few students from his classes to come along.
All different various classes.
Yeah.
Steve gathered a few people from his classes and we just went along to Good Hope Hospital
to do this training. And whilst we were there, the instructor that came in happened to be a student of Tai Chi at one of Steve's other classes. And then Malcolm, who was also a student for Tai Chi at another class, walked into the room after having open heart surgery.
It was only 4 days after his surgery that Malcolm walked into this class clutching a towel.
Very pale.
Yeah, very pale, yeah.
Very pale.
Yeah, I remember it well.
And was instantly told by the staff there to go home.
Oh, yeah.
So we did.
At this time, we didn't know Malcolm, we didn't know Mike Bennett who ran the course, did we?
No.
We only knew Steve, our instructor, and it was all by chance that we came along to Good Hope and attended this course.
Yeah. So we did the course. It was all through the British Heart Foundation, and completed it, and felt that we had got the knowledge that perhaps if ever we needed it, not that we wanted to use the skills, but we would be able to save somebody's life.
Yeah. And then Malcolm then organised another course. He asked Mike Bennett to come along and do another course at a community centre local to us, Aldridge Community Centre. And we went along for a refresher, but Malcolm also said to us, as you attended Good Hope Hospital, would you
be able to help Mike, because he hadn't got the nursing staff with him.
Yeah.
So we needed help and guidance with the Annies.
Yeah. So we did that course and we helped people instruct on mouth to mouth and chest compressions, and that's how the team got together, all
Yeah.
purely by chance, through Steve, our Tai Chi instructor, getting us together and all meeting. And that's how we CPR Counts come together with the four of us.
Yeah.
Malcolm then said to us, would you be prepared to volunteer and do other classes? And that's what we do. We give a couple of hours out of our time, mostly Saturday mornings, don't we?
Yeah.
Or weekend, on a weeknight. And it's really enjoyable.
Really
you meet a lot of people.
And we've also heard, I mean, I know that we have literally trained over 1,000 people. I've forgot what the numbers are now, but I mean, I know there's definitely been 1,000 people who have attended our courses. And through that, we've heard that some of the people have actually had to use the CPR and have saved lives.
I think we've saved about three lives, four possibly,
lives,
which is rewarding in itself.
It gives us great pleasure to know that we've been part of a team helping people to learn these skills, and these people have gone out into the community and unfortunately had to use the skills, but at the same time it's been rewarding because they've saved somebody's life.
Yeah. And then back in 2019, we got this award from Sutton Coldfield community for our efforts in the community, carrying out CPR. So this is very special to CPR Counts. The four of us received this award, and we're really proud of this award.
Yeah.
And so to our fifth and final award for this evening, and that is for the Community Group of the Year. So the shortlisted finalists for this category are CPR Counts, Four Oaks Milk Bar, and Friends of Sutton Park Association. So a round of applause for the candidates. The Community Group of the Year is CPR Counts. CPR Counts is a small and dedicated team of 4 who support the residents of Sutton Coldfield by delivering a free 2-hour training session in emergency life skills. The sessions are carried out in their own time, they do it without a charge or asking for any kind of donation. In just 2 years, they have trained almost 1,000 people in Sutton Coldfield in a very unique and relaxed environment.
Well, we've had 4 lives saved by people who've so far been on our courses, and in 3 of those cases the person was well known to the person who rescued them. One was a stranger who was choking in a restaurant, but the other 3 were cardiac arrests in the home.
It was a very hot day when a friend rang me concerned about her husband. She told me he'd collapsed in the street. He wasn't unconscious, but she was able to get him up and bring him back to their house. He had been given water by somebody in the street. She said he was very grey and very sweaty, but not in any pain. I then said to her, I think you should ring 999. She questioned me why, and I said, just do it. I was quite firm, put the phone down. I believe she did it straight away. I went back to, I was dealing with some meat, to finish dealing with it, and put it in the fridge and thought, I think I'm going round. So I drove round about a 5 or 6, 7 minute drive, a bit longer than that. As I arrived, he was still in the chair, slumped, looking extremely grey, making some unusual noises, which I now know what those noises were. I didn't at the time. She was talking to the emergency services. They'd sent medics. So we were able to discuss, and we were asked, what's he doing now? Is he breathing? I said, well, he's breathing out. And she just said, get him down on the floor. So between us, we got him straight down on the floor. And then she told us to commence CPR, which, because I'd been trained regularly, I felt confident enough to do it. So knelt on the floor beside him and commenced CPR. His wife obviously was in a huge state of shock. I kept that going, and they were talking me through it, which was great, and saying faster, faster. And that's what surprised me. I thought, I don't think I can go any faster, but I just kept going, which then I was beginning to feel quite exhausted. His wife wasn't able to take over from me, so I said to her, would she go to the front door, which she'd left open for the ambulance service, to see if there's any sign of anybody else passing to perhaps take over, because I was finding I was getting worried that I couldn't keep going. But there wasn't anybody passing, so I kept going until the ambulance arrived and were able to take over, which was a huge relief. They then took over, obviously, tested him, that they were able to shock him. They had to actually do 4 shocks to get him to come round. Luckily, he has made a full, complete recovery and appears his normal self. The effect on me was relief that he survived, obviously, and that I had done enough, and that it was just a relief and a great honour, actually, I think, to have saved somebody's life. I don't think it haunts me. I do think about it sometimes, but I don't think haunt is the right word. It's a very strong memory, although saying that it isn't in another way. I remember doing it, but no, I can't say it's... I know it haunts my friend, because obviously that was her nearest and dearest. I had done some CPR training with my job, but I'd been retired 6 years. So I had gone on the CPR Counts courses, which made a huge difference. I learnt more, but it also reinforced what to do. And I did the one fairly soon, and then I did a refresher, which again, I think because I'd only done the course 4 months before I needed to use it, having done it so freshly enabled me to continue, because we all forget things. And I actually forgot to give the rescue breath. I don't know why I forgot to give it, but I did. But it appears, it was during COVID anyway, but I honestly forgot. But it didn't seem to. The major thing was the compressions.
From our perspective, we deliver these courses in terms of giving people awareness and understanding. Often we describe situations where the worst possible scenario is an individual standing there not knowing what to do because they've had no insight, no training. Certainly we're aware more and more sort of these days of the profile and the awareness through media, and lots of people will have seen TV programs that demonstrate how these interventions, CPR, is performed. But nothing replaces the actual practical elements of actually having a go and doing it on our training mannequins. And I think that's really the important thing, is that we offer these individuals that opportunity in a very informal approach. We're not trying to make people experts. We're giving them some understanding and some knowledge, which we hope they never have to use.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? If you don't know, it's better to know it and not use it than to have to use it and not know it.
Absolutely, yes.
Tell us about why you came in the first place and what keeps you coming back.
I had heart condition in 2017, and before then I wasn't aware of all the problems that you can get in the community with cardiac arrest and so forth. And this really focused my mind on trying to put something back into the community for all the help and support that I gained from my procedure. I noticed that in the publicity I was getting that there were details of various CPR courses that I could attend, and I looked at this in close detail, and I found that there was one that was starting local to me in Streatley, and I decided to sign up and go along. And I found that I gained much information and support from other people that were in a similar position to me, and I decided that this was a thing that I would want to pursue. From the training that I had on the course, I had a phone call from a neighbour opposite, she told me that her husband had collapsed. She managed to get him into a bed, and I went over in case a CPR was necessary. Because of the training I received, the patient recovered. The reason that I went on the courses is that I felt if you're amongst people of your community, this is much better than seeing things on a video or YouTube or so forth. You can relate to the people around you. A number of people have got the same interests or the same problems as you have. And I feel that where you have the training on these courses, rather than walking past a person in the street, it's a great benefit to myself and other people in the community. And sitting in a room with people with like interests and chatting to people also, I feel that's more helpful than sitting looking at a film. And of course, having the things in the room, the mannequins, and also being shown the AEDs, the defibrillators, but using the mannequins in anger, so to speak, and seeing the force that's needed to resuscitate a patient in the real world, it certainly helps to bring it home that you do need a little bit of emphasis on this, and the mannequins help you to a great degree. If I hadn't been on the courses, I wouldn't have been involved with the community and the neighbours especially, because they wouldn't have thought that I had the training which I had to help out their spouses. And this was of great benefit to them to know there's somebody in the area that has been trained in CPR.
I mean, we've got approaching about 1,200 people or attendees. Some of the people have done it more than once our course. But I'd say there's about 1,000 different individuals who have now been on the courses since our founding in 2017. But you can safely say that's probably about 1% of the population of the area we cover. So in a nutshell, what would you say to all that other 99%, assuming they haven't been trained?
I think it's grab the opportunities that are there. You know, we yourself particularly spend a lot of time trying to organise and facilitate these training courses. You know, I'm just the one who turns up and delivers the information and opportunities to practice through guidance and instruction, along with a number of other colleagues that have supported us over the years.
Suffered an out-of-hospital cardiac arrest in April 2017, it prompted him to go on a mission to improve other people's chances of survival. As a result, he launched the CPR Counts team, a group based in Sutton Coldfield who run free training courses in first aid for choking, heart attacks, cardiac arrests, and how to use a defibrillator. To begin, Malcolm arranged for 37 friends to attend a heart start course at the local hospital. This took place on the day of his discharge, just 5 days after heart bypass surgery. The first independent course was subsequently organised and was a great success, thanks in part to the course tutor, Mike Bennett, who was supported by Barbara and Dawn Kane. With the support of Fast Aid and the rest of his team, Malcolm has continued his work to increase community awareness of the importance of early CPR and defibrillation across Sutton Coldfield, all of which is making his mission a successful one. For their efforts in raising awareness of CPR and defibrillation, please put your hands together for the CPR Counts team of Malcolm Robinson, Mike Bennett, Barbara Kane, Dawn Kane, and Paula Beddoe for the CPR Counts team.
Well, we're nearing the end of the film, but it wouldn't be complete without mention of Sutton Coldfield Charitable Trust, who have been sponsoring us for our expenses since November 2018, and without whom we couldn't continue to run our courses free of charge to participants. And I'm here in the Trust offices in the boardroom, and I'm here to meet Tina Swanee, who will tell us her role in the organisation. Hello, Tina.
Hello, Malcolm.
And your role is?
My role is Chief Executive of Sutton Coldfield Charitable Trust.
And you can probably go on and tell us a bit about the history. It's an old organisation, isn't it? Very ancient in some ways.
It certainly is. We have a heritage going back to 1528, at a time of Henry VIII and Bishop Vesey, who recognised that an injection of support and charity was needed. And that's the time that the town became a royal town because of that support. And we have had, through those centuries, Sutton Coldfield Charitable Trust has evolved, always with charity at its heart, and always our existence is to support and enhance the quality of life for people in Sutton Coldfield.
We didn't know about your giving grants to such organisations as, if you can call us an organisation as ours, until a mutual friend back in 2018, a year after we'd started, mentioned that we ought to apply, and we were accepted, which was great news. And you've been helping us out ever since. I'll just say one thing, one evidence of your help. I'm wearing, for the first time on camera today, and if you've been watching the film, you'll see I've changed somewhat from what I was wearing before. Brand new shirts that have been sponsored for us by the Trust, different colour. We've also got our names on them now, which wasn't there before. So you'll be seeing more of these if you come on our courses. And thank you for that.
Well, we're really pleased that you applied for the recent grant and back in 2018. One, because it was so inspiring that you set up CPR Counts as a result of your own experience, and driven by the fact that your life was saved by someone that was trained in CPR. So for us as a trust, this really fits with we have a number of grants, but one of those categories of grants is health, the advancement of health and the saving of lives. And CPR Counts over the years has saved at least 4 lives. Mm-hmm. Now you can't put a value on that. You cannot imagine the impact that will have on those individuals and the people that are close to them. So for that reason, I am so pleased that you applied for a grant and were encouraged to apply for a grant. And in fact, CPR Counts doesn't ask for a lot of money. It's perhaps the smallest request that we've had for financial support through an award of grant, and the impact is tremendous. So I would say CPR Counts is our most cost-effective grant that we have awarded.
Wow, I feel I won't get out the door now.
Quite right.
That's amazing. I mean, we didn't know this until we were told recently that figure. We just thought we were run-of-the-mill for you.
Well, you've trained over 1,000 people, probably getting on for 1,200 now.
Course attendances now have surpassed 1,200. So it's a lot of people, but there's still a lot to go. There's a lot of people still in Sutton Coldfield who haven't been, and who knows whether they would be effective in saving a life. We don't know.
It's incredible because none of those trainers, you are in collaboration with a professional trainer, you have volunteer assistants, you have people coming along and giving their time to learn how to do CPR. So these are all people giving their time free of charge. And that's why it's a very cost-effective grant. I think it's only room hire and insurance that you ask for, and the shirts. And this is so important because it's all about raising awareness.
Yeah.
The fact that you have a recognisable shirt and a recognisable logo is a way of attracting attention to you. And if this video inspires more people to become trained by CPR Counts, then that potentially means more lives will be saved.
We hope so. The reason for the design of the logo was explained in the first part of this movie, so if you haven't had a look yet, go back and have a look at it. It's got a special history for us, this, in the way we were formed by pure chance in some ways. A lot of events occurred one after the other which brought us together because we didn't know each other at one stage, and then there's some stories already told. So,
I think that's part of your history, isn't it? And it just shows the trust has got almost a 500-year history. Your history is much closer to than that, but it's the way that people working together for the benefit of our local residents really focused on enhancing quality of life. You're not just enhancing quality of life, you're saving lives, Malcolm. And for that reason, on behalf of Sutton Coldfield Charitable Trust, I thank you, all the volunteers that are involved, and every single person that has attended your courses, because that's making such a vital difference to the potential of life in Sutton Coldfield.
well, that's what we hope for.
We're very humbled. I'm very humbled to have played a small part in what you do.
Well, thank you, Tina, for giving up your time today to do this for us. And we look forward to seeing it on screen, don't we?
Yeah, certainly. Thank you. Thanks to you and CPR Counts.
Thank you.
I think from personal experiences, as adults, we shy away from things that we don't know or don't want to know about. And I think it's trying to overcome those barriers that we want to deliver training. We want to make it as accessible as possible. We want to make it as informal as possible. And I think that may be, again, some underlying concerns that they're in this sort of teaching environment and that they feel quite vulnerable in terms of people like myself asking them questions that they're going to be picked on. And I'm hoping that those people who have returned have realised it's not like that. Yeah, that we're there to facilitate some training in skills, that may never be used, hopefully, but certainly if it ever did occur, they've got a fighting chance. As I always say, something is better than nothing, isn't it? We do what we can as best we can with whatever we can remember. As I said, we're not trying to make people experts. People may only come along once. Those that come back, brilliant. You know, they've sort of demonstrated they enjoyed the session, and they want to refresh, the skills and their knowledge, and that's not a bad thing at all. But certainly we'd like to see a few more new faces. And I think you've highlighted the point on many of the courses that we've run, tends to be a lot more women there than the men.
We're about 2/3 women and 1/3 men. I keep a record of that now. For the last few years I've been keeping a record. And I haven't got any answer for it. I don't know if you have.
No.
I only assume that the women think it's the men who are going to have a heart attack and cardiac arrest.
And when we do look at the data, then the probability is, yes, they're probably right. That the likelihood, statistically, is that we often identify more males that suffer the cardiac arrest proportionally than females. So they may have some insight. That
I don't know whether some women think it would never happen to a woman. It's probably misconception somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
But the fact is, and I think you'll say something about this, that women have not had the best of deals when they've been taken to hospital with a cardiac arrest. or heart attack.
No. And again, the research is out there that sometimes suggests females presenting to A&E where they may have actually have had a heart attack, MI, myocardial infarction, as we describe it, do not always fit the profile expected of an individual that may be suffering cardiovascular disease and heart attacks. And so sometimes, these instances are missed. And clearly that is a concern for any individual attending an A&E department that may have suffered a heart attack. So how we go about, like I say, it's just raising awareness. I think, like I say, from our perspective, putting the message out there.
Yeah.
Putting the message out there, giving people opportunity to ask those questions, get some understanding, get some clarification, and just raising that awareness is such a vital, important part of what needs to happen in order to raise the sort of survival rates that we talk about in resuscitation and cardiac arrests, particularly from a pre-hospital perspective.
Well, thank you, Mike. Unless there's something else you want to say? No?
I think, like I say,
Covered all the points there.
I think long may it continue.
Well, let's hope so. We do need publicity. One of the reasons for making this video is to increase publicity. So let's hope people watch this and think, why haven't I got that knowledge? Why don't I go and learn? It doesn't matter if they're in our patch. The whole country is desperately needing more people to be trained.
Absolutely, absolutely. The more members of the public that can be trained, the better the chances are for individuals that may suffer one of these unfortunate events.
Right, well, thank you.
You're more than welcome.